Hey guys, welcome back. We got some angry people. Some people that are angry, largely because people are making money. People are buying and selling. People like to pretend that there's not money. There's no collecting and or buying, flipping, reselling kind of situation with the trading card game itself. Maybe this is touching a little too close to home for the people that are playing the game, but we have somebody who plays the game who is trying to make financial deals and is seemingly very open and upfront about what the cost is, what the plan is, what it is. But we got people that are outraged. So I want to know down below. Are you guys under the impression? Are you guys under the impression that that buying people's, promos or kits from the World Championship in advance, so providing people the opportunity that they might not otherwise have to go to Worlds, because it is expensive, and maybe this is kind of a sign of that, where it's in Hawaii. So flights are expensive, hotels are expensive. The entire thing is very expensive. Now, does everyone that qualifies for Worlds have the opportunity to do that, to spend that much money? Probably not. So are there people that might find this attractive? Sure. Are there people that would rather sell their own stuff? Probably. There's a lot of people that don't want to sell their own stuff. There's a lot of people that maybe don't have the credit or the means to pay for stuff up front, or this would help them greatly in terms of affording it without, putting it on a credit card or doing something else of that sort. Now, where there's money to be made, there's people that are going to be upset about it. Now, this personally doesn't bother me in any way. It's kind of similar to like the scalping thing. Like if you don't like scalpers, don't buy from scalpers. Just don't buy from them. If you don't buy from them, they have no reason to scalp. If no one buys this, if no one thinks that this is worth their promos, if they'd rather not go, if they'd rather sell them themselves, if they'd rather sell it to somebody else that's going to pay more money for it, then they're kind of welcome to do so. So, in a way, is there anything wrong going on here? I don't think so. I'm sure there will be arguments on both sides. I respect your opinion. Leave it down below and I will take a look at those. Now, we have Alberto here. Again, plays the Pokemon trading card game. It looks like he's going to be at the World Championship. We got some wild stuff going on. All right, now let's start with this one here. So it looks like he did this last year. I don't know if he did it from years before. I don't know Alberto personally. No idea. Not sure if he's a cool dude. Not sure if he's an evil devil. But the comments are going to be all over the place here. There's some very upset people. Again, sometimes I find it hard to believe that it's not just outrage for the sake of outrage. I get it. People want the game to be pure. People that are playing the game, they don't want there to be like financial incentive or anything like that. But if somebody's playing the game and they get promos, they get promo packs, they get anything like that, if they get stuff of value, that's sort of Pokemon's way of paying them. Like when you go to Worlds, what you receive in return is valuable cards, a valuable kit. Otherwise, you're just basically getting nothing. Well, unless you win like prize money at events and stuff like that. But same with going to League. If you get your promo packs, your prize series packs, that's like a nice little bonus for playing the game, right? Or if you run events and you get staff promos. I can't really, if somebody would rather have the money for those because they're not compensated for running events, or maybe they're compensated very little for running events, depending on if the game store pays them or is just giving them the staff promos. Like that's up to the individual whether they want to sell those or not, whether they want to sell them in advance, whether they want to sell them later on, as long as it's abiding by the Pokemon rules. I mean, Pokemon kind of set it up in a way that's people's payment. So if people want to use that, as a means to fund their trip, which they often do, like who's to tell them that they can't do that? If you want to hold on to it, if you cherish them, if you really love the promos and you really want those and you have the means to do so and you don't need the money, keep the promos. Now, we have here in the past month, I've had about a dozen people asking me about selling their Worlds welcome kit to get to Worlds. So here's a tweet regarding that if you're interested. I swear I've had coffee already, and I just can't read apparently. This year I will be buying a Worlds welcome kit starting off at $800 and the seal promo pack at $500. I will not be paying up front this year for your Worlds kit, as someone burned me last year. So sorry, you have to find a way to Worlds yourself first to pick up the kit. I will do the same thing as last year and honor the highest paid price I paid for kit/promo packs by the end of the weekend. So for example, if I buy your welcome kit for $800 on Thursday, and by Sunday I have bought multiple for $1,000, I will pay you the $200 difference. Remember that I am buying these to make a profit myself. I mean, is there really anything wrong with that? So I don't pay the full value of the world's kit myself. If you were to sell off everything individually yourself, approximately $1,200 to $1,400 value in my estimates. If you have any questions, you can ask me, but this should be most of the info you need. So that's the thing. If you want to sell it yourself, I think there were people that actually listed these from the event, like in advance from the event. You're probably going to get the most money for these when they first come out, like the World's promos especially. All the other stuff, like the amount of like time and effort that it takes. There's a lot of people that don't want to be bothered to sell on eBay. Like, not everyone's an eBay seller. Not everyone even buys on eBay necessarily. A lot of people are probably just picking these things up on TCG Player or whatever. Do you have a selling account on TCG Player? Do you have an eBay account with feedback? Then you have to take into consideration that you got to ship all this stuff. You might have to negotiate. You got to deal with crappy customers. You might get scammed. A buyer might say like, hey, it arrived. It's damaged. I want to return it. You got to pay for the return shipping. Maybe they say that it didn't arrive. And then you got to fight with eBay to make sure that you get the money for whatever you sold. And if you're a brand new account and you don't want to deal with that and you don't know how to deal with that, it's not a good time. So that's the thing too. Any like small seller on eBay, there is a chance that as a seller you get shafted by crappy people. It's gonna happen. It does happen. On average, you can kind of like, if you're selling a ton of stuff, you can calculate that into your grand total, to your margin. Make sure like, hey, I'm going to make money even if I get scammed every now and then, or I got to deal with crappy customers that want to return stuff every now and then. You can bake that in. But when you're only selling a few items and they're expensive items and you get screwed on one of these items, you get really screwed. So there's all that to take into consideration. Now, I'm sure you can find somebody reputable that is going to want to buy this stuff, whether it's Alberto or whether it's someone else. I'm sure you can find a way to sell this stuff. But that's the thing too. Do you have the time and effort and it means to do it is another thing. If this is like the easiest way, and you get the money up front, you don't have to worry about putting it on a credit card and making sure that you sell it on time, making sure you adjust the price so you're the cheapest and make sure that it's the most attractive. And then if you're zero feedback account, are people even going to want to buy it? Are they going to take the risk? Maybe you have to auction it. Maybe it goes for lower than what it should because people are like, well, I guess I can risk it for the biscuit here. That sort of thing. So it's all stuff to take into consideration. We are going to get to the angry comments and kind of, man, I swear, there's always something. There's always something that there is outrage about, especially on the old Twitter. Now if you have your invite, I guess it's a follow-up post here afterwards that says, if you have your invite and need help getting to Worlds, I can help with $850 towards a flight to get you there in exchange for your kit. You can look at the info and my terms below. If you're interested, send me a DM. The amount of people I can do this for is limited. So the send me a DM thing, I think that's fine. I think it would be maybe a little bit predatory if he wasn't giving an actual number here. If he wasn't giving like actual, like, here's how it's going to work out in the open, I would be a little bit more critical of what's going on. But it's pretty straightforward. You either want it or you don't. It's the same thing with like if somebody lists something for a really high price. Maybe it's hard to price a certain item. Maybe they just don't care if it sells right away. Maybe they're holding on to it. If they have it listed on eBay, maybe they're just showing it off and they got a price tag of $696,420 on it when it's actually just a $1,000 card or something like that. It happens. And if you don't like it, it's a lot of just don't buy it. That's what it comes down to. Now, same goes with this. Maybe this helps somebody out. Maybe it doesn't help somebody out. If it doesn't help you, if there's a better option, I would think that if you're going Worlds, you probably have a pretty good idea of how to look up the price on this stuff, how to look up the price on the kits, on the promos themselves, and you probably have a pretty good idea of where you can buy and sell these. So like whether it's TCG Player, whether you have somebody that can sell it for you, anything like that. I mean, it's got to be better than not going at all, right? Because then you don't get the stuff that you otherwise would have. I'm pretty sure they don't send you anything if you can't make it. They don't give you the promos or anything like that. Pretty sure you got to be there in person. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But if the promos don't exist, if there's no opportunity to even get there to get the promos, and again, this is maybe more attractive for this Worlds where it's in Hawaii. It's going to be a little bit expensive. It's it's gonna be not a little bit. It's gonna be very expensive compared to if it was somewhere else. If it was somewhere else in the U.S., it would be a fraction of the cost. Flights, hotel, all of that stuff, food, everything's expensive there. So keep that in mind. Number 1, if your flight is more than $850, you will need to pay me the difference up front. If the flight costs $1,000, you need to send me the $150 first, and then I'll book your flight. If you're international, you can send money through Wise, Bankwire, or PayPal Friends and Family. You need to have your hotel situation figured out and show me proof. Hotels are pricey, so I don't want to book a flight for you if you don't have that figured out. I think that's fair. If I end up paying more for the kits in Hawaii, I will not pay the difference with this option specifically. If you can get yourself the Worlds, I will pay you the difference though. This $850 option is meant for the people whose only option to get to Worlds is help beforehand. If your flight is under $850, I will book your flight and I will pay you the difference at Worlds. So if your flight is $600, I'll book your flight. And when I get your kit in Hawaii, I will give you the $250 difference. The kit includes everything in the backpack, except you can keep the 2 spectator passes / your competitor pass. So it includes the Worlds cards, competitor t-shirt, plush, etc. So I know there's like a, so it's a backpack full of stuff. I mean, the spectator passes and stuff like that, you're going to need them anyway. But at least you have some sort of like memento of the event itself. Right, one more here. I guess we'll read the last comment by Alberto, and then we'll get into a few of the very irate, very crazy, angry comments that are down below. We have Alberto, who follows up with, all the drama this has caused, some good Samaritans should help. Worlds kits fly off the shelves for $2K apparently with no risk. So reply below if you'll give someone $1,500 beforehand so they can get to Worlds. You make $500 and you get to feel morally great about yourself. So that's the thing too. If somebody wants to grandstand and say like, hey, your offer's too low, what are you doing? You're ripping people off. Pay more. Pay more if you can pay more. The thing is too, the people that are going to come up with the prices, if it's like, is it $200, $2,000? Maybe. If it is, you got to remember there's fees. You got to remember there's risk involved. Like even Alberto here is taking a risk in the fact that people could screw him over. And like, are you going to go after somebody for $800, $850? Maybe less if the flights are less than that. But again, it's people don't, I don't know if the people that are angry about the selling stuff don't quite understand the selling end of things. Like there's fees. If you're selling those on eBay, goodbye 13% or whatever it is. See you later. See you never. That's gone. And then shipping. If you're shipping a backpack, and if you're selling all the items separate too, so you're gonna pay for shipping multiple times. And then depending on where you're shipping to, if you're shipping a backpack and a plush, those are gonna be pretty expensive to ship. I mean, in the US, they're a little bit spoiled. In Canada, shipping that stuff would be an absolute nightmare. And then if you're selling all the promos individually, probably going to get more from them that way. Again, the English and the Japanese promos are going to be worth way more than the other ones. So that sort of thing. So it's not a surprise that this kind of thing is going on. It's not a surprise that people will go to Worlds and they'll buy this stuff and then they'll sell it. Not even a surprise that people sell it while they're at Worlds to people while they're there. But that's the thing. It's just like if someone doesn't have the means to get to Worlds and they don't have a credit card that they want to put the flights on to try to sell something later on, you can sell it to people while you're there too, if that's the thing. But you have to have the cash up front in order to do that, cash or credit up front. And maybe people aren't comfortable with that. So I don't see how this is bad to have this option. I don't think you necessarily should take it if you don't have to. If you have the ability to get there and you have the ability to sell your own cards and you want to take the time and effort to sell your own cards and you know the risks involved with selling your own cards and backpack and plush and all this other stuff, do it that way. I mean, that's the thing too. It's an option. So we have Natalie who says, this is really predatory towards low income people who might not understand the value of their kit. I mean, is it? I think in one of the posts there, he talks about what the value of the kit is, or what he thinks it is. So you got to remember, he's putting work in here. It's the same thing with like being mad at a game store for offering a percentage of what the cards are worth. If you go sell them yourself, you can get more money. Do it. But if you bring it to a game store and you need a quick buck, or you're selling it to somebody that's going to resell, they need to be able to. They can't give you top dollar for it. It doesn't make any sense, or they're going to lose money when they ship things out, when they get scammed, when they pay fees and everything else. So yes, he can't. He's not going to be able to do this and give the exact value of what you could sell them for. It's a free loan. If somebody wants to give free loans out, then they're welcome to do that as well. We got Lipsy who says, I can do $850 if you help me qualify for Worlds. LOL. I'll pay more, bros. Pre-screwing. Sell your kits to me. Buying heavy and unlimited at fair prices. Heavy and unlimited kits. Heavy and unlimited booster boxes. Okay. That's the thing too. It's just like, be careful that you're not paying the wrong person here. That you're not sending money to somebody that, you know, is not going to book your flight, or be careful. That, or maybe they don't book your flight. They screw you over. That you never even pay anything, but then you got to wait till the last minute. They're like, oh, I didn't book your flight. You're on your own. Shove it. And then you have to pay more for a flight, and maybe you can't even get there. Nice scam. I'll pay more. All right. Where's the, why are you not saying how much you're paying? Because that's the thing too. If this guy comes in and says, if Jake is like, oh, I'm going to pay $900, people are still going to be upset about it. People are going to be, I think people are, no matter what the price is, people are going to be upset about it, because it's just like anti-flipper, like money making mentality that, like, no matter what, it's always been around. There's always been people buying, selling, trading these cards. There's always been stores that they got to mark stuff up. They got to pay the bills. They got to pay the lights. They got to pay this stuff. They got to pay themselves some sort of wage. They got to pay employees. That sort of thing. It's just, it's the same thing. Whether it's somebody flipping, he might have less overhead, but it still is what it is. Just don't take it. If you don't want to sell to a card store because they're not giving you enough, if you don't want to sell your promos to this guy, or you don't want to sell your promos at Worlds because you think they're worth more than that, they're probably not. They're probably going to drop in price. I think that's typically how it goes. Everyone wants to have the Worlds promos right when they come out. You'll have people making YouTube videos. Ooh, I got the Worlds cards. Look at that. Sick, nasty. And then they're probably flipping them before they drop in price. So if you're buying Worlds cards, don't buy them when they first come out. If you're looking to get a good deal on them, if you want to flex them in a YouTube video or something, maybe getting them right away is worth it, or going to Worlds and buying them from someone is worth it. Now, I mean, with the placement stuff, with the champion stuff, maybe that becomes like worth it because they might not be accessible. They might not be available later on. But for the most part, you're just your standard kit. Your standard kit stuff is probably going to be at a pretty big premium when it first comes out. Adam says, LOL, I think this is super duper reasonable. You're telling them up front what they are getting. I think that's just it. If people disagree with like what the value is, then they can, and that's about it. Like if you don't like the price, if you can do it yourself, do it yourself. It's it's the direct parallel to someone like offering you 70% for your collection, because they got to put in all the legwork to sell things individually. Or a store maybe even offering less than that, because it might not be stuff that they can move right away, depending on what the items are, how many items there are. If you're adding up a bunch of dollar cards, if it's $1,000 cards, they can't give you $1,000 for it. The amount of time and effort it's going to take them to sell that stuff, they're not going to make the $1,000 back. There's expenses that go, time, money that has to go into selling that stuff. People could charge everything on their credit card and sell the kit on their own. I agree. If they had the means to do that, you're doing that for them. There's no scam or details being hidden here. I agree. Unless he's like shorting people, unless there's some kind of hidden thing that is seemingly not here, I don't think this is a scam in any way. Best Sempo saying, you are disgusting and a shame for the TCG community. I mean, what? Why? Who? Does it matter? We got a meme here. Ricardo saying, I receive your Worlds kit, your soul, and your newborn babies. You receive $850 towards your Worlds flight. I think this is blown out of proportion. Oh man, so many TCG critics wishing they had the money to buy kits and put on eBay later. Also, international travels and costs are not managed by children. It is worth mentioning it here. If the offer is not interesting to someone, to each their own. I think that's exactly it. I don't. It sucks that that there isn't some better way, that like Pokemon isn't gonna actually pay for your flight. If you qualify for Worlds, they're not paying for your flight, they're not paying for your hotel. The same way Pokemon is not paying some judge to run events, local events or regionals or anything like that. Actually, I don't know. They might, for the regionals and stuff, they might have accommodations. But for the most part, the people that are helping, the people that are running this stuff, the people that are playing are being compensated largely in product, whether it's a backpack, whether it's a plushie, whether it's promos, Worlds promos, whatever it is. That's a way that Pokemon is effectively, cheaply, inexpensively supporting these people. And to each their own. If they want to sell it in advance, if they want to sell it afterwards, if they want to hold on to it for a year and watch it go down in price and sell it then, they can do that. Maybe an emergency comes up and they want to sell off. Maybe they want to buy a house. Maybe they want to buy a car. Maybe they want to get married. Maybe, who knows? But at any point, if these people want to, they have the ability to sell their prizes. And I think that's a win-win, because they don't have to. There's no reason that they need to do that. They can keep them if they want. They can get rid of them if they want, especially if it's like video game players and they have no attachment to the cards or anything like that, and they've received some sort of prize card. Maybe they don't care. They'd rather have the money. And that's completely understandable, because it's expensive. You're building decks. You're probably opening some product. You're probably building, you're probably mostly building, you're building product, or you're building decks out of singles, probably for the most part. But when you're trying to keep up to everything, if you're building multiple decks, if you're on like the most competitive of competitive levels, you're probably building all these decks. You're buying this stuff when it comes out, when it's hot, when it's popular, when it's playable, when it's expensive. And yes, Pokemon's pretty good at making promos, making versions of cards that are more affordable. But it all adds up. The travel is a huge part of that. Travel, time, effort that goes into this stuff. You shouldn't be shaming anyone that is paying for this stuff, and you also shouldn't. I mean, are we going to shame the people on eBay that are buying it too? If they buy it at an auction and it's not expensive enough, it's crazy to me. But let me know what you guys think. That's enough rambling. We got 23 minutes worth of ramble on something that is I think it's a pretty cut and dry. Who cares? But you guys, I'm open to hear some kind of justification on how this is predatory. It's an offer. It's an offer. Take it or leave it. Do what you got to do. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining the Discord, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.